You bought it with the best of intentions. Or maybe someone gifted it to you, smiling, saying, "This brings good luck." You placed it gently on your shelf, maybe watered it faithfully. A soft green spiral of life curling toward the ceiling. And still your money feels stuck. Your home feels stagnant. Your energy feels drained. So here's the uncomfortable question. What if the lucky bamboo you so lovingly cared for is quietly blocking the very abundance you're trying to invite? In the language of Feng Shui, energy isn't sentimental. It doesn't respond to effort. It responds to placement, to direction, to relationship. Just like the right key opens a door only when turned the right way, even the most sacred object, when misaligned, can hold you back instead of moving you forward. The lucky bamboo is not just decoration. It is a living conductor of qi, a green antenna. And if it's angled wrong, watered wrong, or placed without intention, it doesn't simply do nothing. It can quietly reverse the current you're hoping to build. This video is not a superstition. It's a recalibration. Today, we'll walk together through 5 common ways people unknowingly misplace their lucky bamboo. Ways that distort the energy flow, drain opportunity, and scatter the fortune that might otherwise be gathering quietly around you. And more importantly, I'll show you 3 deeply intentional placements that can transform this humble plant into what it was always meant to be, a quiet magnet for clarity, resilience, and prosperity. And if you've ever wondered why some things in your life feel stuck despite your best efforts, why small irritations build into patterns, or why a space you've lived in for years still feels like it resists you, then this video may offer the shift you've been waiting for. But before we go deeper, I want to pause and ask something simple. If you feel resonance in what you've just heard, if this kind of grounded Feng Shui insight offers even a sliver of clarity, I would be truly grateful for your support. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might also be struggling with invisible blocks, and subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. We're on the cusp of 1,000 followers, and your presence helps us bring timeless, practical wisdom into more homes, especially those seeking calm amidst the noise and structure in the face of uncertainty. Because ultimately, this isn't about bamboo, it's about you, your space, your story, your flow, and the silent way energy either holds you or lets you go. The 5 common misplacements that drain. 1. Too close to electronics. Many people proudly place their lucky bamboo in their office desk, right next to their modem, laptop, or wireless printer, thinking it adds a calming touch to their workspace. But what's often missed in this arrangement is the silent battle happening between invisible forces. In Feng Shui, the bamboo embodies the wood element, gentle, upward moving, laid with structure and quiet perseverance. Meanwhile, modern electronic devices pulse with chaotic yang energy. Routers, Wi-Fi units, and screens all emit electromagnetic frequencies, EMFs, which, while unseen, have very real effects on both human nervous systems and plant biofields. When you place your lucky bamboo too close to these devices, you aren't just creating visual clutter. You're flooding the plant's qi with signals it cannot process. It begins to twist, sometimes quite literally. Instead of growing in a strong vertical line, the very movement that symbolizes steady wealth and rising clarity, the stalks can bend or spiral unnaturally. Leaves may appear uneven, one side lush while the other droops. Over time, it becomes a metaphor for the very thing Feng Shui teaches us to avoid: being pulled in too many directions, growing without grounding. I once worked with a client, a woman who ran a busy customer service department from her home office. She was thoughtful and organized, but had been feeling drained, scattered, and plagued by constant miscommunication with clients and team members. On our first video call, I noticed her lucky bamboo placed right beside her wireless printer and router, nestled into a narrow corner. When I asked how long it had been there, she said 6 months, about the same time she noticed things at work had started feeling off. I encouraged her to shift the plant. We didn't buy anything new. We didn't burn incense or chant. She simply moved the bamboo to a bright shelf on the opposite side of the room, away from the electronics, giving it breathing space and light. Within a week, she emailed me. The fog in her thinking had lifted. Her team felt easier to manage. The plant, she said, even looked taller. Sharper and steadier, she described. Not just the bamboo, but herself. The remedy is elegantly simple. Keep your lucky bamboo at least 1.5 to 2 feet away from any major electronic device. Think of it as honoring the plant's right to clear ki, allowing it to hold its natural upward rhythm without static interference. Place it near natural light where possible, but not in direct sun. Shelves across the room, from a desk or a console table by the doorway, they are often ideal. It's less about perfection and more about intention, about giving this symbolic life form the conditions it needs to anchor and transmit the energy you're calling into your home. Remember, the lucky bamboo isn't merely decor. In Feng Shui, it is a living talisman, but it cannot protect what you constantly expose to distortion. In the same way that you wouldn't meditate next to a ringing phone or sleep beside a flashing screen, your plant too needs clarity to grow on your behalf. Creating that space is less about superstition and more about quiet respect for the unseen relationships shaping your fortune. 2. In front of the main door. It's easy to assume that placing lucky bamboo right by your front door will welcome good fortune, as if the plant itself could beckon prosperity through the threshold. And while that instinct is half true, what's often missed in classical Feng Shui is this. The front door is not just any entryway. It is the mouth of Qi, the sacred portal where life force energy breathes into your home. It is not meant to be blocked, filtered, or prematurely absorbed. And when you place lucky bamboo directly in front of this energetic gateway, you may inadvertently cause it to function like a net, catching the very energy meant to nourish the rest of your space. Instead of prosperity flowing inward, it lingers, pools, or worse, scatters. Feng Shui understands that energy behaves like water. When water is allowed to pour freely into a space, it nourishes everything in its path. But when that flow is intercepted too soon, by something too absorbent, too close, too misaligned, the result is stagnation. A lucky bamboo placed right in front of the main entrance absorbs and holds on to incoming qi. It stands as a symbolic sponge at the place where circulation is most vital. Instead of letting fortune distribute naturally into your living room, kitchen, or wealth areas, it gets bottlenecked throughout, trapped in a corner, or dissipated altogether. In practice, this can translate into a strange dynamic in your life. Effortful gains that never fully settle, opportunities that show up but don't convert, or guests who enter your home and feel subtly uneasy. One client, a young couple who had just moved into their first apartment, told me they had proudly placed a tall vase of lucky bamboo directly next to the inside of their front door. They had read somewhere that bamboo welcomes luck, but in the months that followed, they noticed their home always felt busy, too stimulated. Packages went missing. Friends came once but didn't return. Job interviews for new positions moved forward but never finalized. When we looked at their space, it was clear. The bamboo was doing what bamboo naturally does. It was absorbing qi right at the entry point. We relocated it diagonally across the room, placing it near a low cabinet with a mirror and soft light. The energy shifted within a week. Deliveries arrived on time. One of them landed a new contract. And the home, they reported, finally felt like ours. If you love the symbolism of lucky bamboo nearer the door, honor that desire, but adjust the placement. Diagonal positioning works best. This location allows the bamboo to serve as a silent sentinel, gently witnessing energy as it enters without hijacking it. It becomes a subtle guide rather than a gatekeeper. Another powerful option is to place the bamboo a few feet into the home, perhaps near the living room's wealth corner or an area where you sit or frupten. So the energy has already begun to circulate before the plant receives it. In Feng Shui, prosperity is never about force, it is about flow. Let the qi enter your home like breath, unblocked and alive. And then, let your lucky bamboo stand in partnership with that movement, not an interruption of it. Small shifts like these don't just change your decor, they realign your relationship with invitation, openness, and trust in the quiet intelligence of energy itself. 3. In dim, forgotten corner, of all the silent mistakes made in the placement of lucky bamboo, few are more overlooked than this, tucking it away into a dim, forgotten corner, as if it were merely a decorative afterthought. In truth, lucky bamboo is not just a passive ornament. It is a living antenna. It senses, it speaks, and most importantly, it anchors the kind of qi that shapes how your home breathes. When you place it in an area starved of light, hidden behind a television, exiled to a bathroom ledge, or crammed beneath a staircase, you're not just depriving it of sunlight. You're suppressing its ability to function as a beacon of abundance. In classical Feng Shui, light is life. Qi, like a subtle mist, follows brightness. When an area is shadowed or stagnant, qi hesitates. It slows down. It pools, but not in a nourishing way. More like water gone stale in a forgotten bowl. When you place your lucky bamboo in such a location, you might still water it, speak kindly to it, and care for it outwardly. But energetically, the message you're sending is one of silence. Grow quietly where I cannot see you. That instruction echoes into your own fortune. You may begin to feel overlooked, stalled in your efforts, or oddly disconnected from the very dreams you're cultivating. I once visited the home of a gentle healer, a woman deeply connected to energy work, who nonetheless felt like her personal abundance had dried up. Her sessions were still meaningful, but clients stopped returning. Creative inspiration ran dry. She had placed a beautiful lucky bamboo in the farthest corner of her bedroom, tucked behind a nightstand, under a beam, with no natural light. I wanted it near my altar, she said, but also out of the way. That phrase lingered, out of the way. Her wealth intentions had been placed exactly there, energetically muffled. We moved the plant to a corner of the room that caught morning light, placed it in a white ceramic pot, and added a small gold coin at the base. Within weeks, she reported receiving 3 returning clients and an unexpected teaching invitation. So what's the remedy? Aim for a space where the bamboo can breathe, not under harsh, direct sun, but in a place with gentle illumination. East-facing rooms are excellent as they mirror the energy of new beginnings. Avoid cramped cabinets, low shelves under staircases, or any zone where dust tends to gather and light fails to reach. Let your bamboo be visible to you and to the energy that flows through your home. The point is not exposure for decoration, but openness for resonance. In the art of Feng Shui, plants do more than clean the air. They tune the invisible instruments of your life, shaping the tone, pace, and harmony of your fortune. A lucky bamboo placed in the light doesn't just grow taller, it starts to glow from within, sending a subtle signal outward. There is life here. There is energy worth expanding. And slowly your environment responds. Energy becomes a little clearer. Effort feels more fruitful. And your days, perhaps, begin to align more softly with your intentions. Don't silence your fortune in the shadows. Place it where it can be heard, where it can glow, where it can gather the light that makes upon things grow. Weibo are near trash bins or unused storage. Among the most silent yet spiritually corrosive placement errors is positioning your lucky bamboo near a trash bin, unused storage corner, or cluttered utility space. At first glance, it might not seem significant. After all, the plant is still upright, its leaves still green, the water in the vase still clear. But in Feng Shui, what surrounds a symbol is just as important as the symbol itself. Energy is relational, and when a vibrant, living object like lucky bamboo is placed next to energetic waste, it becomes energetically entangled with that waste. Imagine the subtle narrative being written there. Life placed next to decay, intention beside indifference, beauty beside neglect. Even if you've nurtured that plant with the purest of hopes, wishing for calm, wealth, harmony, its roots are soaking in a field clouded by symbolic discard. In Feng Shui, the garbage bin isn't just a physical utility. It's a magnet for exhausted energy, a signal that this no longer belongs. And when your lucky bamboo stands nearby, it absorbs not just the scent of waste, but the vibration of rejection. I once visited the apartment of a couple who had been struggling with what they call false starts. Projects began with excitement, but fizzled quickly. Deals approached the finish line and then inexplicably fell through. In the corner of their open kitchen, next to a sleek bamboo arrangement in a tall ceramic vase, sat the trash can, large, stainless steel, and motion sensor activated. Every time someone walked by, the lid opened automatically with a mechanical sigh. The bamboo, positioned proudly just 6 inches away, was essentially planted in a zone of continuous disposal. When I gently pointed this out, they looked stunned. "It's so pretty there," the wife said. "I thought it brightened the trash corner." Her words held the answer. She had unintentionally assigned a sacred object the job of beautifying something meant for release. Feng Shui teaches us this. Plants are energetic absorbers. Their presence softens a space, but their roots also gather the hidden messages of their environment. Bamboo is especially sensitive because of its water element alignment. It doesn't merely reflect qi, it drinks it. When placed near toilets, bins, dusty corners, or forgotten piles of unopened mail and broken tools, it draws in the qi of abandonment. Over time, that absorbed energy begins to echo in your life. Efforts feel dismissed. Clarity gets murky. Even conversations begin to feel heavier than usual. So what's the shift? Simple but powerful. Create space. Physically relocate your lucky bamboo at least 1 meter away from any symbolic zone of decay, trash cans, clutter, unused appliances, or stagnant storage. Ideally, house it in a fresh, intentional area, perhaps beside a hallway mirror, near a softly lit reading chair, or along a shelf where other active objects live. Books, candles, treasured photos. Give it a view. Let it face into the life of the home, not the exit signs of what no longer serves. This isn't about making trash disappear. It's about protecting your plant's role as a transmitter of prosperity, not as a sinkhole for rejection. Let your lucky bamboo be a channel for what you're inviting in, not a sponge for what you're letting go of. With one small move, you're not just honoring the plant, you're honoring the kind of life force you want pulsing at the center of your home. Because in Feng Shui, the smallest realignment often creates the loudest shift. Move your bamboo away from what's meant to leave and toward what's meant to grow, and watch how life responds. 5. Beneath strong airflow. If lucky bamboo is the symbol of calm endurance and upward progress, then strong airflow is its exact opposite. Chaotic, dispersive, unsettled. In classical Feng Shui, every element has a nature. In the wood element, of which bamboo is a proud ambassador, thrives on steady support and rooted progression. Wind, especially artificial or forceful wind like that from fans, air conditioners, or heat vents, does not nurture wood. It fragments it. placing your lucky bamboo directly beneath an AC vent or in front of a standing fan might not appear problematic at first. The leaves still flutter, the plant still lives, the water still ripples. But what is really happening energetically is scattering. In Chinese metaphysics, qi moves like mist, subtle, delicate, easily influenced. Wind is one of the most powerful disruptors of qi, especially when it comes in bursts or unnatural cycles. When bamboo is subjected to repeated gusts, even if they're cool or well-intentioned, its energy cannot stabilize. It begins to stretch anxiously, not gracefully. There's a deeper metaphor at play here. In life, growth doesn't happen in hurricane. It happens in stillness, through slow and nourishing pressure, like roots pushing through soil. A bamboo plant beneath a fan may look like it's dancing, but in reality, it's being pulled away from its directive, and the same might be said for the person who places it there. I once consulted for a creative director who had recently renovated his studio apartment. He proudly showed me his desk setup, a lucky bamboo in a minimalist white pot placed at the center of his desk, directly under a ceiling AC. "I wanted it to feel alive," he said, gesturing at the swaying leaves. But he also described a repeated pattern, creative concepts that started strong but scattered halfway, team energy that was enthusiastic in meetings but fizzled before deadlines. His bamboo was being forced to mimic the energy around it, unfocused motion instead of anchored direction. When I suggested he move the plant a few feet to the side, shielded by a wooden divider but still in view, he agreed with a raised eyebrow. 2 weeks later, he messaged me that his team had just delivered a campaign early, something that hadn't happened in months. "It's probably coincidence," he wrote, "but I haven't moved the plant back." In Feng Shui, we don't chase coincidences, we observe energy, and the principle here is elegantly simple. Wind scatters wood. Your lucky bamboo isn't meant to endure a storm, it's meant to shape it. It's meant to be the calm in the room that draws fortune in gently, not the leaf caught in a cyclone of noise and artificial breeze. If you cannot avoid airflow, soften it. Introduce a small wooden screen to diffuse the gust. Use a linen curtain to redirect, or reposition the plant entirely just a foot to the left, where the wind is quieter, the intention more anchored. You are not hiding the bamboo, you are restoring its dignity as an instrument of rooted, prosperous energy. Because in the language of Feng Shui, prosperity doesn't yell, it settles. Fortune doesn't chase, it arrives. And growth that lasts always begins in a place shielded from the wind. Let your bamboo hold that space. Let it be still enough to grow something true. Correct placements that multiply abundance in the living room. Placing lucky bamboo in the living room is more than an aesthetic choice. It's a symbolic investment in the emotional architecture of your home. In Feng Shui, the living room is considered the heart of the family field, a communal area where energies blend, where conversations imprint themselves in the air, and where the qi of relationships, aspirations, and shared moods circulate most visibly. It's the energetic crossroads of intention and interaction. That's exactly why lucky bamboo, an emblem of vitality, flexibility, and upward growth, belongs here. When positioned thoughtfully in a living space, lucky bamboo doesn't just sit pretty. It begins to function like a silent harmonizer, absorbing emotional residue and balancing differences without words. Whether it's placed near the television, beside a reading chair, or close to a shared window ledge, the bamboo acts like a mediator, softening sharp words, soothing unresolved tension, and supporting the natural flow of mutual goals among family members or roommates. What elevates this setup even further is pairing it with amplification tools. For instance, a well-placed mirror nearby can energetically double the bamboo's presence, reflecting not just its image, but its symbolism. In Feng Shui, mirrors are water element tools. They expand, multiply, and distribute energy, So when a healthy, thriving lucky bamboo is reflected, it's akin to saying, let this growth extend, let this harmony ripple outward. Likewise, a nearby clear quartz, citrine, or even a natural amethyst cluster can subtly fortify the bamboo's frequency. Crystals, especially natural and well-cared-for ones, help anchor specific energetic intentions. Clear quartz enhances clarity and amplification. Citrine encourages wealth flow, and amethyst provides spiritual calm. By placing one near your bamboo, you don't just beautify the corner. You set up a microclimate of prosperity, focus, and resilience. Here's a real-world example. A couple I once advised kept their lucky bamboo in a dim kitchen corner for years, mainly out of habit. When I suggested moving it to the living room's southeast corner and pairing it with a rose quartz cluster they had in storage, they were skeptical but curious. Within weeks, they noticed their evening arguments eased. Conversations deepened. More surprisingly, the husband's side business, long stagnant, began picking up new leads. Was it just the bamboo? Of course not. It was the field they built around it, the intention, the placement, the shift in flow. That's what most people miss. Feng Shui isn't about superstition, it's about structure. When you place something with, especially something alive, you create an anchor in the home that quietly whispers the future you're growing into. So if your living room is where your family gathers, dreams aloud, or simply rests, let the bamboo stand there with you. Let it absorb what needs softening. Let it reflect what you wish to grow, and let it root, not just into the soil, but into your story. At the wealth sector, Southeast, placing your lucky bamboo in the southeast sector of your home isn't just a decorative decision. It's a deliberate act of wealth cultivation. In classical Feng Shui, the southeast direction is known as the Abundance Palace, a zone governed by the wood element and directly connected to financial growth, stored prosperity, and long-term opportunity. When you bring the right energy into this area, you're not merely hoping for good fortune, you're preparing the soil for it. Lucky bamboo, being a wood element plant, naturally resonates with this area. Its upward growth, clean vertical lines, and strong but flexible stalks echo the kind of fortune we aim to invite. Stable yet dynamic, expansive yet rooted. But placement alone is not the whole story. For the bamboo to do its work energetically, the environment around it must support the same frequency of abundance. This is where advanced Feng Shui practitioners often add a subtle layer: water. Water nourishes wood in the 5-element cycle. Without water, bamboo may grow, but its energy is thin, brittle, and incomplete. Add a gentle water feature, a still bowl of clean water with a floating crystal, a slow tabletop fountain, or even a symbolic watercolor painting, and you amplify the bamboo's effect dramatically. The water doesn't just feed the plant, it activates flow. It whispers to the qi, let movement begin. It creates circulation where stagnation used to live. It's important to be intentional. The water must be clean, the bamboo must be healthy. The placement must feel calm, not crowded. This is not a corner for neglected papers, storage boxes, or dusty lamps. Think of it as your personal treasury, a corner shrine to possibility. You're not placing a plant, you're planting a declaration. This home is ready to hold more. Here's a brief story to anchor the concept. A client, a retired architect, had always struggled to hold on to money. Projects came in, but the savings never accumulated. We discovered that her southeast corner was cluttered with unopened mail and a leaning shelf of unused books. We cleared the space, added a 3-stalk lucky bamboo in a clear glass vase, and placed it beside a low ceramic fountain she'd once received as a gift. Within 3 months, not only did she report a feeling of mental release, but a former client unexpectedly rehired her for part-time consulting. It wasn't just the money, she told me. It was the feeling that I was ready to receive again. That is the essence of the Southeast sector's teaching. Wealth doesn't always enter through effort. Sometimes it flows towards stillness that has made room. So if you're feeling stuck in your finances, or simply want to reinforce your field of receptivity, look to your southeast corner. Make it clear, make it soft, make it vibrant. Place your lucky bamboo there, not as superstition, but as alignment. Add water to welcome flow. Let the room breathe in a new kind of silence. And quietly, patiently, let the bamboo do what it has done for centuries. Grow abundance, one calm leaf at a time. Near a bright window. Placing your lucky bamboo near a bright, east-facing window is not just about light. It's about aligning your space with the rhythm of rising energy. In Feng Shui, the east represents the wood element in its purest form: growth, youthfulness, and fresh beginnings. It's the direction of sunrise, the breath of morning, and the promise of new cycles. And when your lucky bamboo faces this direction, it doesn't merely survive, it resonates. Let's look deeper. The sun rising in the east activates yang qi, active, forward-moving energy. When a wood element like bamboo receives this, it translates that energetic fuel into vertical movement, symbolic of a career that begins to rise, a motivation that renews, and a sense of resilience that becomes rooted. This makes it an especially potent placement for anyone looking to break through stagnation, launch a new phase of work, or even rediscover purpose after a time of confusion. This isn't about flooding the plant with heat or blinding sunlight. Bamboo prefers filtered light, not harsh exposure. A sheer curtain, frosted window, or soft morning sun is ideal. The goal isn't fire, it's awakening. That's why the East is especially suitable for people working from home, students, creatives, or those in any life transition. This placement turns your plant into a personal cheerleader, quiet but consistent, reminding your subconscious every morning, energy rises here. Here's a subtle enhancement. If you place your lucky bamboo on a small wooden table or natural surface, especially when you keep clean and intentional, it doubles the wood synergy. You could also write a short affirmation beneath the pot, even on the underside, like "New doors open with ease," or "Every morning brings fresh clarity." These small acts root your intention in your environment, and energy always listens. A short example. A client in her early 30s had recently left a corporate job and was feeling directionless. Her bamboo was in a west-facing corner, drooping under a stack of mail. We relocated it to a small table by her bedroom's east window, where soft sunlight arrived by 8 a.m. Within 3 weeks, she began waking earlier, journaling consistently, and eventually signed up for a creative design course she'd been hesitating on. "I don't know if it was the plant," she said, "but something about that corner makes me feel like I have somewhere to go again." That's the silent power of alignment. When you honor directionality in Feng Shui, you don't just place a plant, you reorient your inner compass. And in the East, you tell the universe, "I am willing to begin again." Choosing the right number of stalks. One stalk, a single stalk of lucky bamboo, may seem modest, almost too simple to be of significance. But within Feng Shui, simplicity is not weakness, it is precision. One stalk symbolizes singular focus, the kind of unwavering clarity that cuts through noise and guides energy toward a solitary goal. This is not the bamboo of scattered dreams or divided efforts. This is the bamboo of the quiet builder, the seeker who has chosen depth over breadth. When you place one stalk in your home or workspace, you are making a very clear energetic statement. I am ready to unify my actions with my intention. There is no room here for fragmentation. It is the perfect configuration for solo entrepreneurs who are building a business from the ground up. for artists working on a single masterpiece, or for anyone who feels called to dive inward and strengthen their spiritual or creative core. Symbolically, this one stalk reflects the Tao, the path. Not many paths, not all paths, just the one you are on right now. That is where power concentrates. In Feng Shui terms, this single stalk becomes a qi anchor, focusing energy into a narrow but potent beam, like sunlight passing through a lens to ignite fire. But placement matters. This bamboo should be kept in a space that reflects sovereignty and vision. Think of your personal desk, your altar, or the corner where you write, think, or meditate. Don't place it near the door, where energy disperses. Don't hide it among clutter. Let it stand clean, supported by a smooth ceramic vase or glass bowl, something simple but intentional. This plant is not here to impress anyone. It is here to mirror your internal steadiness. If your life has felt scattered, too many tabs open, too many voices pulling you in different directions, then one stalk may be your energetic remedy. It invites silence, focus, and the gentle reminder that success often begins not with more action, but with more alignment. So don't underestimate the power of one. One step in the right direction changes everything. One thought, held with care, can shift the entire rhythm of your day. And one living symbol, placed with clarity, can begin to reshape the flow of your space, and by extension, your future. Stalks, two stalks of lucky bamboo, do not simply sit side by side. They lean toward one another. They mirror. They harmonize. In Feng Shui, this configuration is one of the oldest and most quietly powerful symbolic arrangements used to cultivate emotional balance, attract partnership, and deepen existing connections. Where one stalk focuses the self, two stalks invite the dance of relationship, not competition, not fusion, but resonance. The energy of two in classical Feng Shui is yin-yang in motion, complementary forces seeking a rhythm. It represents union, not just of romantic partners, but of any two energies working towards shared understanding. This could be you and your spouse, you and a business collaborator, you and your own divided inner worlds, attempting to work as one again. Placing two stalks in the bedroom creates an atmosphere of peace, trust, and emotional clarity. If there's been tension, miscommunication, or just emotional distance, the presence of these two living symbols can serve as a soft realignment, reminding both people to return to the breath, to the middle path, to the space between right and wrong. It doesn't fix a relationship, but it plants the chai for gentler conversations in a softened atmosphere. In shared workspaces, two stalks signal cooperative energy. Whether placed between two desks or in a common area, they reduce friction and invite shared success. They are especially beneficial in small partnerships, where roles must be fluid and egos soft. If your team feels misaligned, this subtle shift in energy can have surprising effects. But caution, like any pairing, the energy of two stalks must be placed with awareness. Never put them too close to the trash bin, a mirror reflecting clutter, or electronic noise like a buzzing router. And don't pair them with wilting leaves or broken containers. It sends mixed signals to the qi you're trying to attract. Instead, place them in a soft, rounded vase. Choose a spot with calm light, ideally near a window that welcomes the morning sun, but doesn't burn with afternoon heat. Two stalks are a quiet promise that togetherness is not found. It is cultivated. It is tended with small, living gestures. And as with all Feng Shui, the outer arrangement becomes a conversation with the inner world. So ask yourself, what am I willing to soften for love, for cooperation, for peace? This pairing doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it simply stands, alive, balanced, and intertwined just enough to remind you that even in complexity, harmony is still possible. 3 stalks. 3 stalks of lucky bamboo don't just stand, they rise. Together they form a subtle upward arc, like a staircase lifting qi one step at a time. In Feng Shui, 3 is the number of growth, vision, and energetic motion. It is not static, it leans forward. It creates momentum. That's why 3-stalk arrangements are often recommended for those who rely on inspiration, visibility, and communication. Artists, performers, teachers, and entrepreneurs who speak or create for a living. 3 in classical Chinese metaphysics represents the harmonious blending of heaven, earth, and humanity. It's where ideas from above meet action from below and translate into expression through the human voice, hand, or mind. When you place a 3-stalk bamboo on your desk, you are not simply adding decor. You are setting an energetic tone. I am ready to speak. I am ready to be seen. I am ready to grow. This configuration is especially powerful when placed in the southeast corner of a workspace, the Feng Shui wealth sector, or east-facing zones, which govern health and personal vitality. In practical terms, you want this bamboo where you brainstorm, pitch, write, paint, plan, or negotiate, anywhere energy needs to circulate freely and courageously. One digital strategist, born in the year of the dragon, shared that after placing a 3-stalk lucky bamboo beside her mic and laptop, she found herself speaking more fluidly during online workshops and noticed more subscribers arriving organically. It didn't feel magical, she said. It just felt smoother, like the message I'd been trying to say finally had room to come out. That's the gift of 3. It doesn't force momentum, it allows it, like a small gust of wind at your back when you're already moving. It helps you glide, not stumble. Aesthetic matters too. Arrange your 3 stalks in a triangular formation rather than side by side. This enhances upward movement visually and energetically. Choose a rounded or wave-like vase to support creative flow, and pair it with a piece of raw crystal, like citrine or fluorite, nearby if you want to amplify clarity and insight. Be careful not to overcrowd the arrangement with too many additional items. Creativity needs space to breathe. The bamboo is your qi guide, not your storage shelf. When used with intention, the energy of 3 stalks quietly says, let the ideas come. Let the words find me. Let my talent unfold in rhythm with the world. 5 stalks. 5 stalks of lucky bamboo form more than a decorative piece. They become a silent wellspring of stability. In Feng Shui, the number 5 is sacred. It represents the complete integration of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Together, these form the energetic ecosystem, not just of your space, but of your body, your relationships, and your future. When you choose 5 stalks, you're not just inviting growth, you're anchoring balance. Health in Feng Shui is never defined solely by the absence of illness. It is harmony. It is the rhythm between inhale and exhale, between activity and rest, between giving and receiving. A 5-stalk bamboo placed with intention reinforces this subtle but essential rhythm. This is why Feng Shui masters often recommend placing a 5-stalk arrangement in kitchens, dining areas, or shared family zones. The kitchen, after all, is where nourishment becomes form. It is the earth of the home, the stomach of the house. When you bring balanced wood energy into that space, it reminds every meal, every conversation, every daily habit to serve something greater than convenience: vitality. One grandmother, born in the year of the pig, kept a 5-stalk bamboo on the windowsill above her sink. She said it wasn't for luck, but for memory. Every morning when I wash fruit, I see it. It reminds me to breathe slower, to feed my body with care, and to speak kindly while I cook. Over the years, her kitchen became a gathering place not just for food, but for healing. 5 also holds a deeper message. It invites us to see life in its full spectrum, not just success or failure, not just joy or sorrow, but the fluid motion between them. If your home has felt energetically uneven, if someone in the house is recovering from burnout, illness, or emotional exhaustion, 5 stalks may act as a quiet stabilizer, gently drawing all 5 elements back into conversation. Position it where energy circulates daily, not where it collects dust. Let it live where stories are shared, soup is stirred, and small laughter still lingers. Choose a wide, earth-tone container, clay, ceramic, or anything that feels solid. This supports the grounding nature of the 5-element alignment. If you'd like to enhance its effect, place a bowl of fresh fruit nearby or a small candle that you light during family dinners. These additions help balance wood with earth and fire, completing the elemental conversation. 5 stalks do not shout, they do not dazzle, but over time, they become part of the house's heartbeat. Quiet, consistent, and quietly protective. 6 or 9 stalks, 6 and 9, 2 numbers often overlooked in the noise of modern superstition, yet both revered in classical feng shui for their magnetic pull toward abundance. These aren't just numerals, they're frequencies. And when chosen with intention, a 6 or 9 stalk arrangement of lucky bamboo becomes less a house plant, more a silent invitation for wealth to feel welcome. Let's begin with 6. In Chinese metaphysics, 6 is associated with Lu, a word that resonates with smoothness, ease, and heavenly flow. It is not a loud number. It is not impatient. It moves like a stream, steady, open, quietly widening the channels through which blessings can arrive. When you choose 6 stalks, you are gently aligning your key with opportunities that unfold gracefully, not urgently. Think of clients who pay on time, jobs that align with purpose, and deals that require less convincing and more trusting. Place these 6 stalks near financial documents, contracts, or wherever invoices come in and out. Let them act as your energetic assistant, unseen, but quietly aligning the vibration of income with a more harmonious rhythm. Then there is 9, the crown jewel of numerology in both Buddhist and feng shui tradition. 9 is the number of completion, of great cycles fulfilled, of destiny ripening. It is said that when 9 stalks are placed with clarity and purpose, they awaken not just the potential for gain, but the maturity to handle that gain wisely. 9 stalks aren't just about what you wish for, they're about what you're now ready to steward. This makes them ideal for entrepreneurs, investors, or anyone entering a new chapter of responsibility around wealth. If you work from home, consider placing a 9-stalk bamboo near your main desk, facing your primary point of entry. Let the plant be the first thing that greets your glance each morning. Its upward growth reminding you that prosperity is not a destination, but a daily direction. Water it as you would water your discipline. Straighten its leaves as you would straighten your posture before an important call. It listens. A business consultant I once advised kept 9 stalks next to a small bowl filled with old foreign coins, tokens from past client trips. She told me that every time she felt stuck in a project, she would run her fingers along the stalks, close her laptop, and breathe. Within weeks of creating that ritual, her work regained momentum. Not because of the bamboo alone, but because the bamboo gave her space to remember her own rhythm. Whether you choose 6 or 9, make sure the container feels prosperous to you. It doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to feel intentional, clean, elevated, uncluttered. Add a small piece of clear quartz if you'd like to amplify clarity, or a gold-toned ribbon for traditional metal element enhancement. 6 is flow, 9 is fulfillment. Both, when aligned with your awareness, become anchors of quiet abundance. Final in Feng Shui, nothing is truly random. Energy notices everything, even the things we assume are too small to matter. A plant on a shelf, a forgotten corner, a leaf tilted toward or away from the light. The chi of a home is shaped not by loud declarations, but by quiet patterns. And it's often the smallest act, a bamboo stalk turned the right way, placed in the right light. That becomes the pivot between stagnation and renewal. We live in a world where change is often marketed as something dramatic. Tear it all down, start over, reinvent yourself. But the ancient wisdom that guides Feng Shui doesn't speak in revolutions. It speaks in adjustments. Gentle, attentive corrections that slowly but powerfully reorient our lives toward balance, fortune, and clarity. Maybe today you realized your lucky bamboo is too close to the Wi-Fi. Maybe it's sitting in a dim hallway, doing its best but suffocating in energetic silence. Or maybe you've simply never considered that a plant could be more than decoration, that it could be a living intention, whispering prosperity into your home day by day. Whatever your starting point, take heart in this. You don't need a house full of sacred symbols. You don't need to become an expert overnight. All you need is one change, one realignment, one conversation with your space that says, I'm ready for something better, and I'm willing to participate in it. Perhaps today you'll move your lucky bamboo toward a sunrise, or clear the clutter around it, or simply acknowledge it with fresh eyes, not as an object, but as an ally. These small actions ripple. They carry weight beyond what we can see. I'd love to know, what's one placement in your home you'll reconsider today? Let me know in the comments. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needed to hear, even if they didn't know it. And if today's wisdom helps shift something in your thinking, or simply reminded you of the quiet power already waiting in your space, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. With your help, we're almost at 1,000 followers. That number isn't just a goal. It's a signal that more people are waking up to the fact that their homes, their lives, and their futures are not fixed. They are alive, and they can be shaped with care. Let me leave you with this. True luck doesn't arrive. It awakens, rooted, aligned, and gently welcomed. Are you ready to welcome it? Let me know if you'd like the full video script for this topic next, or if you're ready to begin a new one in the same style.